Thank you everyone so much for coming along tonight to listen to the great jobs and great ideas and emissions reductions that can flow from investing in solar for our schools, for our daycare centres, and also investing in batteries as well. But to start off, we'll touch a little bit on the Million Jobs Plan and give you a bit of an overview of the scope of that, because this was just the solar schools element was just a small piece of this broader picture about how Australia can create millions of jobs by becoming a renewable energy superpower and investing in zero emissions approaches to other elements such as land use and things like that. Okay. So a little bit about Beyond Zero Emissions. We strive to show how Australia can thrive through a transition to a zero carbon economy. And as a people-powered think tank, we've won a range of awards that we're very proud of. Just to give you a little bit of context around how the Million Jobs Plan has operated and also how Beyond Zero Emissions operates. We carry out research, we identify opportunities for national and regional economies. We engage with communities, helping them to implement plans and realise opportunities. We also reach out to business and industry. We work with businesses to develop and implement strategies. To paint a bit of a picture of some of the work that we've done before, the Northern Territory 10 gigawatt vision was a great example of how Beyond Zero Emissions painted the picture of how the Northern Territory could base its economy on renewable resources. They built a coalition of supporters of business, influencers, capital raisers and politicians, and this has helped change the economic direction of the government. And our chair of our board, Eitan Lenko, has been on the group of people who are advising the Northern Territory about their COVID response. So that's a really great outcome there for Beyond Zero Emissions. A little bit of context around the situation we've found ourselves in. Australia is at a crossroads. Over 835,000 jobs were lost since March. Billions of dollars need to be invested to get the economy back on track. So part of the Million Jobs Plan is to bring forward spending and jobs to encourage private sector investment, many projects of which were already in the pipeline. We all know, I would think, within Australian Parents for Climate Action and Beyond Zero Emissions and groups that get climate, that solar and wind are rapidly decreasing in cost and becoming even better options from both a climate emissions reduction and also a cost effectiveness angle. Australia specifically has excellent potential in renewable energy. We have good wind and solar, and they can also coexist in many locations across the continent. Australia is transitioning to renewable energy. Signs of this are that the Paris Climate Agreement was ratified. State commitments to net zero emissions by 2050 or earlier are made by all of our states. Corporates and investors committing to reduce emissions in line with the Paris Agreement. This is happening across Australia. A little quick snapshot of the Million Jobs Plan. 1.8 million new jobs across 5 years. 200,000 in renewable energy and transmission. 200,000 jobs in land regeneration and ecosystem regeneration. And I heartily advise you to check out the Million Jobs Plan, which you can find on our website, bze.org.au. And this is just a quick overview of the number of jobs and where they would stack across the next 5 years with the Million Jobs Plan ideas across these different sectors. Just a quick mention about the fact that we have a fantastic zero carbon communities program, which will be getting profiled on Fight for Planet A. So tune in to Fight for Planet A to find out more about Beyond Zero Emissions zero carbon communities. And within the Million Jobs Plan, 18,000 jobs were identified by our community through consultations, ideas that we could roll out across the country. The benefits of community-led projects are local jobs and investment, reduced energy bills, and a healthier environment. So now for the costing that I was asked to provide today to give you a little bit more insight into the solar and early childhood learning centre costing that was done for the Million Jobs Plan. You can find it on page 34 of the Million Jobs Plan. A couple of quick assumptions. It's hard to know exactly how much solar is already installed. Okay, so a couple of quick assumptions. 42.5% of, assuming that 42.5% of schools and early childhood centres require solar and 65% require batteries. It's hard to know exactly, but that's a fair estimate. What do these systems look like? So for those of you who know a little bit about solar and batteries, we're looking at large schools and centres using a 250 kilowatt system of solar, plus the medium battery energy storage system, or BESS, 218 kilowatt or 348 kilowatt hours. And we can see the smaller schools are costed using an example of a 25 kilowatt solar panel system and a small BESS. So if we looked at this system across the number of schools and early childhood centres across Australia, we would see 907 megawatts of solar, 2,230 megawatt hours of batteries being installed. This would reduce emissions by 1.35 million tonnes of CO2 equivalent per year and cost $3.78 billion, generating 6,870 jobs. And we can see some solar on a learning centre in that picture there. I'm really excited to hear from Linda coming up shortly, who is certainly a deeper expert on virtual power plants than I am, a bit of a generalist across climate solutions, but to touch on the cost savings that come from this additional feature. So in addition to the solar panels and the batteries themselves generating savings to each year for the schools, if we operate the school solar and battery system as a virtual power plant, there are additional savings. So if we look at the install costs for large schools, we've got $100,000 figures there for large and small schools for their solar and their batteries. And then we look at the savings that they're going to make over the next years once that's installed. $114,000 a year in savings for a large school or centre and $12,700 for small centres and schools. Approximate internal rate of return around 10% over 10 years. And included in this is the assumption that the school systems operating as VPPs. And so there's this additional component which is already incorporated into that, for example, $114,000 per year, of $37,000 per year of allowing the school system to operate as a virtual power plant, to deliver energy to the community at the times where it's needed.